miss all of y'all. All y'all girls standing together like that. I can't take it.
Hello? All right. Okay. Thank you. I see what you mean with the light.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So I'm going to start. I'm going to actually get Hillary to start us off. And Hillary's over there. She sort of arranged. She arranged all the challenges that the brands and the tech providers put up. It's like a weather channel. How's the weather?
It's good. Really fair.
So she's been arranging them to themes, and I'm actually curious to see if those themes line up with what we noticed in the town hall earlier today. So why don't you tell us sort of what some of the 2 or 3 biggest themes on the brands and agencies side are over there?
Definitely. So by far, I would say the biggest theme is attribution. A lot of people wrote down that they are having trouble, attributing all of the different things that they're doing and finding out where they're seeing success and, what's not working and just, figuring that out, measuring ROI. Too many platforms definitely has a lot to do with that. You're putting, different things in different places and not really seeing how it's all coming together in terms of solid results. Beyond that, resources kind of ties right into that as well as data. So obviously if there's too many platforms, it means you need more people, you need more eyeballs on different things, and resources are getting a little strapped in regards to that. Do more with less money, that's obviously a big one.
Cool. I'm going to actually stop you there because I do want to talk to you about the data and attribution thing, because that was sort of one of the big things that came out of the town hall too. Sort of what was going on in the town hall, and what was your impression that comes away with us?
A few things. I mean, one of the ones that Hillary just mentioned, right, in the town hall discussion was value. How do I get value or see value out of what I'm doing? How do I know it's actually working? How do I know I'm reaching the people and getting the effect I need to see? So that was actually a really big one. KPIs, especially as everybody's trying to get their arms around a more connected world, learning that. And the paralysis came up as it relates to data. I mean, that was a word we heard a couple of times. There's really this feeling of towards data and technology, a feeling of paralysis because there's so much. There's so much, and it's really hard to get your arms around it. And I know the board says brands and agencies, and actually one of the points that were discussed was to start to more smartly use your agency for knowledge transfer. To help you really have that agency be a very strong partner to help you get through what is an ever-changing world and getting your arms around that.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Is there anything on there just in terms of partners and agencies? Because I think those 2 things kind of go hand in hand.
Yep, we definitely have evolving agency relationship, figuring out, talking to clients, getting, feedback from them, and sort of, it seems like on the agency side, there's always sort of trying to push, especially the more legacy, older brands, to try new things, breaking, through the, old ways and sort of encouraging them to try new things. Communication is a big one, and just sort of, having that back and forth and making sure that the relationship grows as fast as, the industry around everyone is.
Yeah. Can you kind of elaborate on the agency issue at the town hall? Because I know that came up a few times, and it was sort of different things going on with it.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of one of those expected things, right? Yeah. We kind of expected to hear in the town hall, which is you don't have unlimited amount of resources. It's not an endless shelf space kind of even inside of your own company. So we always think big brands have a ton of resources. That's so not the case. In fact, often the only way to staff is through the agency. And I think there was a good discussion about how some are actually starting to try and do more in-house, but not cutting off the agency, just starting to try and get the learning really in tandem, but trying to do more in-house if it's more strategic. Where others are trying to broaden, keep the great relationship they had, but try and have the agency and the brand actually work more closely together on a number of different things and really touch each other's ends across a number of different functions to try and make sure that they can cope with all the different touch points for the consumer.
Yeah, and I think there was a structural issue there too. Like the things that the agency used to do and the things that the brand would sort of keep close to its chest, they're kind of moving closer together. Like there's all these Venn diagrams.
I mean, there's always been this debate, what's a true partnership? So it's probably getting closer to that, right? We're also getting more connected, brands and agencies. I want to bring up one more thing, Hillary, because you talked about the resources, the interns. And I think it's actually pretty phenomenal that interns, they make the hot list of discussion in a town hall, because again, that's actually a really good indicator that we learn a lot from new people coming into the organization, or we're still having to rely on interns to get the work done that we need to get done. So I thought it was really interesting that the intern is live and hot as part of the the
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Yeah, I think for the people who weren't in the town hall, do you want to give us a quick sort of explanation of where this intern thing came from and why you were, and particularly why you were so struck by it? Because even when we came out, you were like, the intern thing is fascinating.
Yeah, no, I love our interns. But yeah, so interns emerged really in a discussion about both social and new world of digital, as well as videos in particular. So just, again, another way that consumers are really consuming. And it was really using the interns to either create content more smartly or cheaply or in a more creative way, or actually to go in and potentially do the work of posting on different sites, different social sites, to stay connected and get the brand voice out there. So used in a number of different ways, but I thought I was kind of surprised.
Yeah. Actually, I'm curious to know how many people are sort of giving interns more responsibilities, and that's a direct result of sort of diminished resources, whichever part of the organization you're in. Yeah, I am too. Me too. Cool.
See, the days are over where interns just make coffee. It's so good.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to think. There was one. Anyway, did you have another one on brands and agencies?
Storytelling and figuring out the right story was the last one. That was sort of, we kind of saw a lot of breaking through the clutter, getting your own voice out there, and sort of perfecting your social voice is something that seems to be on the mind of a lot of brands. Obviously, you have all these things going on, but what you put out there to the consumer and how you're portraying yourself is, obviously really important at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. What was one thing that you were that you heard and you said, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. Like that totally came out of left field, and that was something I was not expecting to be a point of discussion.
I would say one thing I heard and one thing I didn't hear. I was surprised that there's still this feeling of paralysis, coping with everything marketeers have to cope with. I think it just shows we need help, right, to implement the right things and find someone who is a great peer that we can talk to get learning from as well, which is what this event is also great for. So that surprised me that there's still this paralysis. What surprised me that we didn't talk about in the town hall was actually the consumer experience, that we talk technology first and that we talk brand first, but we don't talk our consumer first. Because if anything, what the tech providers and digital and has enabled is a very vocal consumer that is creating our brand for us in many cases if we don't engage. So I was surprised to not actually hear the consumer story first.
Absolutely. Maybe tomorrow morning. Let's move over to the tech provider side. We only have a couple minutes, but I do want to hear sort of one or two of the biggest themes you're seeing.
Yeah, we are still seeing attribution, obviously in a slightly different way. It's more about sort of communicating to brands what their value is, what the attribution actually is. And there's a lot of third parties to measure success. And all the multi-touch attribution really came up. So sort of sifting through all of that and then making it a cohesive presentation to the brand and helping them understand what you're all about was a big one that came up. And then I think the second biggest one was the crowded marketplace. Obviously for tech providers and vendors, it's really crowded out there, and part of communicating your message is communicating how you can stand out, and which can be a hard thing to do. In such a crowded workplace, and it's a lack of awareness. Knowledge is a big thing, and sort of just teaching brands and your clients what you're all about and why you're better than everyone else is definitely a challenge that everyone's facing.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you put a challenge down?
Yeah, I put down showing value. I think what I constantly hear from other CMOs I work with is help me show value, and I did hear that in the town hall quite a bit as well, because I have to keep my budget or try and get more or justify what I'm doing, and I think that's all of our jobs to help brands get to value at the end of the day. But I think what you just said, Hillary, that the tech providers put here in terms of a standing out and a crowded place shows you that a lot of tech providers here today could do with a bit of marketing help from this audience. So that's pretty cool.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Pernille and Hillary. This was great.
Great.